Our next speaker is Dr. Simon Kwan, and I think to the local audience, I think we should all be very, very familiar with Mr. Kwan. And I don't know why, but Simon Kwan's company seems to be actually getting a lot of jobs, to help us to revamp, redevelop public hospitals. And so it actually speaks of some of the quality that it's producing for us. And that's why the hospital authority is so keen to employ him to actually, to modify and change and improve a lot of private hospitals. So his topic today is revamping public hospitals in Hong Kong, challenges and opportunities. Mr. Kwan, please.
Thank you, Professor Fong, for your introduction. I must clarify myself, although I'm a doctor, but nothing to do with medicine. My doctorate is on fine arts. But today, I'm going to talk about public hospital design. So we were fortunate enough to be entrusted to build several hospitals in Hong Kong. And now, I would like to share some of our experiences with our fellow architects from here and abroad. Now, we look at this picture, grand picture of Hong Kong with plenty of white clouds and blue sky. But it wasn't the case 10, 20, or 30 years ago. 20, 30 years ago, Hong Kong looks like this. We have the density, probably the most densely populated place in the world. And we have full of concrete jungle, and our living space is tiny. And it's a polluted city. And the people work overtime and very stressed. And we have the modest budget for healthcare. And after all, we are non-sportive. We take very little exercise. All these points appears to be guarantees for poor health, guarantee for sociogenic problems. But in contrary to public belief, Hong Kong ranks the first in the highest life expectancy place on earth. So we have an average life expectancy of 86.42 years old. But how come that happens? So one may argue that if the people are more solotonic, it might be 90 or 100 years old. But on practical terms, we think that we have efficient, effective healthcare practice in place. But let's look at it. How does it work? Sorry. Now, Hong Kong population has been growing from 700,000 people to 7.5 million as of today, an increase of 10 times. But our hospital were being added from time to time. If you look at this chart, we have, although the size of hospital might vary, we have 21 hospitals in 1945, private and public altogether. But today we have 53. But all these 53 hospitals, I think, were built in around in the 80s and the 90s. So it's time to have it updated. Now these are today the 42 public hospitals. We are talking about public hospitals. There are 42 public hospitals today, with a total number of 27,000 beds. Now, Kwong Wang Hospital, built in 1911, Kwew Yip opened in 1937, and Queen Elizabeth, 1963, and Prince Margaret Hospital, 1975, and Prince of Wales, 1984, and Twin Mun Hospital in the 1990s. So all these hospitals are a bit outdated today, or too congested, not enough to serve the population. And serving the population, we have heard that the Hong Kong hospitals is divided into 7 clusters. These clusters, more or less, were distributed according to population, with a major concentration in the urban area. That's in Hong Kong and Kowloon. But in the year 2011 and 2012, our hospital took in 1.5 million episodes, which represents 78% of all the hospital goers in Hong Kong, with 21% for the private sector. It's quite a major task. Again, the problem we are facing is due to the aging problem of our population. If you look at this chart, people from infants to 64 years old are altogether on one day, on 21st of March 2012, 11,000 people older than 65 attended the hospital. And this figure represents the total sum of all other ages, all other stages together. So our hospital, it's catering for the aging population. And in the budget of 2014 to 2015, we have our healthcare budget is it's 56.7 billion, representing 5.2% of the GDP. If you take the figures in comparison with the other developed countries, we are only something like 30% of what the US are spending, and about 50% of the European countries are spending. So we still have a financial problem in building hospitals. Now, all the major hospitals that is under upgrading program are more or less concentrated in the urban area. You see the red dots are the new hospital, apart from Tin Shui Wai Hospital, which is in the north. But all the major hospitals, Hong Kong Children's Hospital, United Christian Hospital, Kwong Wah Hospital, Queen Mary, and the Kai Tak Kiew Hospital are concentrated in the urban area. Building in the urban area is a little bit different from building in the rural area. We have a more difficult task to fulfill. Now, our company was fortunate, as I said, to be entrusted to build some of the hospitals. These are the hospitals we built over the years. This is the North Lantau Hospital, and this is Cheung Kwan O Hospital Extension, and this is the Tin Shui Wai Hospital under construction, and also the Children's Hospital under construction, and Kwong Wah Hospital rebuilding under planning stage. You see, all these hospitals are built in the urban sites. Now, this chart shows the average age of the Hong Kong population. Today, at the year 2015, I think we are about 13% of our people are over 65. But by 2033, 26.5% was projected. So 1 in 4 of our people living in Hong Kong is over 65 years old. And another problem facing the architect is the shortage of land or sites for building new hospital. We have to squeeze in little space here and there to put in new hospital or extensions. Now, look at this one. This is the Kwong Wah Hospital, existing block of the Kwong Wah Hospital, colored purple. And we have to find space. It's so difficult to find any space to build more accommodation on this site. But this is just a standard situation for all the existing hospitals. And in addition to the shortage of land, we have shortage of labor as well, because we're undergoing 10 major infrastructure projects going on. With lots of roads and bridges to be built, the mass transit linking with China and so on. And we have private and public housing program, which is very huge demand for labor. And labor shortage is very acute here in Hong Kong. So these are the problems. And in urban areas, when we are building, we have to try our best or whatever the architects can master to improve the quality of our building. Now, one of the strategies that we've been using this strategy for several projects, is the introduction of a central courtyard. The introduction of central courtyard allowed lighting to penetrate into the interior, in the central part of the building. So for this diagram, you see that the lighting can go through many phases of the building. And the same token, we utilize this we call this ventilated atrium. Now this is an atrium, but it's not covered. The cover is not sealed up. The cover is just like holding an umbrella on top of a courtyard. So the important factor is that we allow air to come in at the bottom and let it go on top. The reason being that we put in a glazed roof on top of the atrium so that it will act as a double facade. So light penetrating into the interior will be cool light because the atrium itself is a sort of greenhouse. It will not allow hot sunlight to penetrate the interior of the rooms. But at the same time, the roof glass are being heated. It will create a hot air, a zone on the top, on the uppermost. And by difference in weight, and the hot air will tend to float out of the top, between the gap of the roof and the skylight. And in so doing, it draws in cool air from the bottom. I think that works for many of our projects. It helps to reduce the air conditioning loading and provide comfort for the interior part of the building. So another strategy is to bring in the vegetation, not inside the building, but in the immediate surrounding of the building, courtyards, roof gardens, a playground, and all that. Whenever possibility, we'll put in planting, including vertical greening methods. And we also investigate the various possibility for the ward layout. We used to have this so-called racetrack system of rooms lying on both sides with the nurse station in the center, so works in the circle. But we also try this V-shaped corridor to increase visibility and put in more natural light into the corridor space. And in some of our projects, we have several types of ward layout according to the special situation. And we also taking good care of the well-being of the people working or visiting the hospitals. One most important thing is the natural light. Natural light looks far better than artificial lighting. So we try to bring in as much sunlight as possible to the interior of the building. And in our interior design, we don't put an institutional look, and we try to create a more homely feeling for our interior designs. And then on the modest way, we try to put in some graphic works that will lighten up the corridor space and help people to identify which floor they are staying. And in several of our projects, we provide this interactive waiting space, so it's not a boring airport-like with banks of chairs. We've got toys and talking, gathering space, and so on in the lobbies. And we introduce this sort of rehab garden. In the garden, we provide all sorts of features for the people that needs to train their skill in hearing, in sensation, in tactile, and so on. Because they have a bit of fun while they are doing rehab exercise. And we also try to introduce accompanying parents' accommodation, the separate bedrooms for parents to stay overnight when their child is sick. I think it helps to elevate the mother and children's grief. And also, whenever possible, we have tried to create a landscape zone upon arrival, so that people feel that they are arriving to some sort of resort or some sort of garden area instead of heading for treatment. Here we have this tranquil garden setting in front of the hospital. This is Wang Chuk Hang Hospital. We designed something 30 years ago. So in several of our projects, we have this lobby or community hall or things, putting a gathering space or breakout, just like this a pre-function area in hotels, so that people can gather. And this is one of our proposals for the hotel, hospital hallway, that there will be a Christmas carol singing or pop singers will come to do their performances to elevate people's worries. And whenever possible, we will design the rooms, all rooms with a view. And as I said, again, with the courtyard garden, it helps to bring in light and natural greening into the interiors of the big hospital. And as our research and teaching methods advanced, I think a lot of the teaching were done online. So there are one of our projects, we propose to put in a real-time broadcast from the OD theater, so those students can watch instantaneously in the big lecture theater. And we emphasize on the need for hardware for staff training. Here, one hospital will put in the real ambulance inside the hospital for training staff, ambulance staff, and we have a simulated OT, and we have also simulated ward for training nurses. And I think animation or robotic is the next major change in hospital operation. So one hospital, we suggest to have this inter-hospital pneumatic tubes. So the medicine or papers, documents can travel from one hospital to another hospital, saving the time of carrying things around. And also we have this automated guided machine. The guided machine works as the robot. They'll carry heavy stuff from floor to floor. They can go inside lift, and they will, on a designated pathway, you can instruct them to take in linens or food or drugs all by themselves, by means of saving labor. And we have this auto-dispensing machine for pills or drugs to eliminate human error. And we also make our OT theater possible for introducing robotics in surgery. So the room size and the room layout is slightly larger to cater for these future gadgets. And all the lab will be totally automated. Automated lab system will be in place in some of our projects. So I only got 20 minutes to talk, so that's all I have to say. But in summary, in a few words, that in the future design, or at least when we design hospital, we have these 4 abilities in mind. First is the humanity. We treat people as people. And second is sustainability. We have to look for the good for the environment. And third is the flexibility, because medical practice changes from decades to decades. So we must be flexible to adopt for new gadgets or new system. And final but not least is expandability. I think all our hospitals keep on expanding. And we have this expandability in mind. Otherwise, it will be too late, because it will be very interruptive to build on the same site or join next to an hospital. I think these are the major points I would like to raise. And finally, I must say, I'm more greedy than Mr. Van der Rohe. He wants his building to be, he don't want his building to be interesting. He wants them to be good. To me, I want them to be interesting. And at the same time, they must be good. Thank you.